Yeah, a bunch of users came up with the idea last year that April 16th, like 4/16 Foursquare should be Foursquare Day, and they just kind of ran on it. And they wrote us like, hey, do you mind if we have a party in Florida for Foursquare Day? I said, no, that's totally fun. And then they went and they organized something like 300 different parties around the world, which was totally mind-blowing to us. And then this year they did it again, except they had like 1,100 parties. So it's kind of nuts just to see the user community really rally behind a lot of the stuff that we're doing, and to be as excited about what we're doing as the team that's actually building it. So
what did you get for Foursquare Day?
Oh, well, there was 3 parties in New York, and actually I took a nap and I slept through the first happy hour, but I know I felt awful about it. But then the second one, we went in and it was like too packed to even get in. Someone made a cake with a Foursquare logo, and they had like one of those like step and repeat with a sign with all the logos on it, with Foursquare and the people. It was just nuts. Like people were
so
like,
you didn't have to do that yourself? You didn't plan it?
No, we didn't do anything. Like they planned it, and last year we threw a party in New York because we didn't know what else to do. So it was like, oh, let's have this party, and we tried to rent out a space, and someone gave it to us for free. This year we took all the budget that we would have spent on having a party for ourselves, and we just divvied it up and sent it to all these user groups all over the world. It was like, here's a bunch of t-shirts, a bunch of stickers, a bunch of pins, like do whatever you want. Thank you for being supportive, and they were excited about it. It's awesome.
And the other big thing that you did recently was a big relaunch of some of your apps, right?
Yeah, we did. We went to South by Southwest. Probably everyone in this room went to South. They would not go to South by Southwest. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. More than I thought. Thank you for holding up your screen when you're checking. That's good. Yeah, South by Southwest. We hustled, for really the whole first quarter of this year, and we launched a whole bunch of stuff that we've been needing to fix forever. We fixed the leaderboard. We redid the point system, which we knew was broken for a while. We launched the specialist platform. And then the biggest thing is we rolled out the Explore tab, which is our version of recommendations. Amazon does it for books, and Netflix does it for movies, and our whole thing is like, let's do this for places, let's do it for experiences, let's do it for what you should be doing in the next 20 minutes. And it's taken us, almost 6 or 7 months to build that thing and get it just right.
Yeah, that's surprising how nuanced it is, right? You can kind of tweak in all sorts of directions. Like, I want to go to places where my friends have gone, places where everyone has gone.
It's good. We built in a lot of functionality considering it's just like a V1 version of the product, and it's super useful. There's 2 guys that are working on that team, which is crazy to think that 2 guys are that's all that data and making that stuff happen. But yeah, the V1.5, the V2 are in the works, so all that stuff is going to start getting a little bit tighter. But that's the direction that the product's supposed to be going in. The thing that was so exciting for us at South by Southwest was, people have stereotyped Foursquare as like, oh, it's this cute little app, and you check in, you get points and badges. It's a game. It's a game built on check-ins, which is kind of true, right? But meanwhile, we're collecting all this amazing data from people. People check in, 1, 2, 3 times a day. And we can use that data to tell you about the things you should be doing. Right? So we think about you collect this huge user profile that people have done, the places they've been to, the people they've been with, the patterns that are in their lives. And we think about how we can recycle a lot of that data and give it back to people, so it makes an experience of familiar neighborhoods and new cities just that much more interesting.
Can you tell us about some of the ways that people are using Foursquare now? Who is the average Foursquare user? How many friends do they have? How often do they share?
Yeah, we're just starting to dig into a lot of this data. We've got tons of data, and all of last year was spent, or a big part of last year was spent just keeping the thing up and running. Right? So remember Twitter went through all those problems. I don't think we're out of the weeds yet, but we went through those types of problems this summer. And so the things that we should have been doing, we just didn't get a chance to do. We just hired an analytics engineer. And this is some guy that's just like, hey, I will run numbers all day long, I will find all the interesting patterns in the data. So we're starting to tease that stuff out. The average number of friends seems to be between 5 and 8, which is great. It's so much lower than the Facebook number, because it's kind of what we want. Facebook is everyone that you've ever made eye contact with in your entire life. And Foursquare is the people that you see at a bar and you don't avoid. You're oh, hey, what's up? I want to talk to that person. And that's a really cool social graph to have. In terms of other demographics, it kind of falls where you think. It's 24 to 27 or so. And we're starting to see parents with kids adopted, as a way to, find out, hey, where are the places that new moms have been in Brooklyn? What's an interesting spot here? And we're seeing kids in college campuses adopted too. So there's plenty of room for those numbers to kind of move around a little bit, and for us to go a little bit higher and a little lower on that demographic scale.
So when users are in the product right now, what do you feel is the interplay between the social incentives versus the deal incentives versus the game incentives?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just having a conversation with someone. We were hiding behind the pole over there, and I'm sorry, I completely forgot your name. But I think we're talking about like all the different reasons that people use Foursquare, and I think like one of the best things about the product is you can do a focus group of like the 10 people in this row, and you get 10 different answers. Like, oh, I use the tips to find out what I should order at a restaurant, or oh, I love collecting badges, or no, I use it for deals so I can get I like to collect deals and whatnot. I use it to find out where my friends are. I use it as a social bookmarking thing to remember the places I travel to. And that drives our like marketing people nuts because they're like, you gotta just figure out what the one thing is that makes your product work. I'm like, no, that thing that makes
once
it
you
work.
turn into a serious company, people get really aggressive about making you say your mission.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out like what the messaging and everything is, but like the thing that makes it work is that it's like 100 different things to 100 different people. And the experience is different like every night or every afternoon.
Which of this is driving growth the most? Like when new users are signing on, is it because they see like the Amex promotion, or is it because their friends are already on it?
To be honest, I'm not really sure, and we haven't been able to dig into that so much. Like you look at the usage growth, or like the daily user numbers, and you see these big spikes, and sometimes they correspond to press, or like a conference, or maybe Bravo runs like a TV ad, or it shows up in a New York Times article. Like, you don't really know what the spikes are all about, but there's just a lot of attention around the stuff that we're doing, and it comes from all these different sources, and a lot of it's coming from like word of mouth. We just went through and we did the sign up on the website of things, and so the website is if you guys, a lot of you guys are web guys, guys and girls, actually mostly girls. But you A/B test and you kind of tweak things. And like we're just at that point where we can optimize and say, hey, the sign up flow isn't as good as it should be. Like let's tweak it and make it better. So we look at what everyone else is doing, we kind of take the best practices and say, okay, this is a great flow. It's very light. And as soon as we launch something like that, we see the numbers pick up. It's like, wow, all we have to do is optimize the check-in experience. It shouldn't take 20 seconds, it should take 5 seconds, and you'll see check-ins go up. You optimize the web sign-up flow, you make it easier for people to sign up for friends, make it easier for merchants to get on that deals. And all those things are little levers that we can go back and fix that ultimately make that just push the growth, that drive the adoption.
But it's supposed to make things simpler?
I think so. Like, I think that, we have a good amount of functionality in the app. And the app is functional. It doesn't do everything it's supposed to do, but it does a lot of the things it's supposed to do. You can tell a lot of future things about the product. I think the thing we haven't done yet is the optimization, which is like make it faster, make it lighter, make it easier, and that's what that's what Q2 is all about for us. Like we're trying to just tweak those dials in the app, just make it so much more fun and easier to use.
What's ringing? You should bring it up and have Dennis answer it.
Like, hey, what's up? Hey, Mom.
So what about on the merchant side? You're giving them more tools to help them set up their own presences on Foursquare. That was another recent launch, right?
Well, I'm sorry, the last one.
You're helping merchants
Yeah.
have more of a presence on Foursquare?
Yeah, that's been kind of the thing that we wanted to do from the very beginning. The merchant, like Foursquare Day, that's not our idea. Like the users are like, that's a great idea, we're going to do it. The specials platform, that wasn't really our idea either. Do you guys know the Marsh Cafe? I've never been there. I went to the Marsh Cafe.
Where is it?
Yes, it's in San Francisco. No? I don't know. Thank you. Someone raised their hand. You've been there. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere in this fine land. And they were the first ones. Like they made a flyer, and there's a Foursquare logo on it. It's like, hey, you should, if you check in, we'll give you a discount on one of the shows. Like we'll give you $1 off the ticket. And remember, like they wrote us, like, hey, do you mind if this is cool? Like we're using your logo. This is fantastic. And we started seeing other people starting to iterate on top of that, and people wanting to use, like merchants starting to figure out that they could use the platform to connect with their best customers. And we're like, we were just building things for the people in this room, for users. And for us, I was like, oh wow, that's a big opportunity. We should capture that and make stuff. So now, a year and a half after that, Marsh Cafe actually put that first flyer up. We relaunched our specials platform. We did it right before South by Southwest. And merchants can go on and say, hey, this is my pizza place. This is my cafe. I own it. I want to run a special against it. The whole thing's automated. Like it used to be our biz dev guy Tristan, answering the phone and going through Google spreadsheet and doing it all by hand. And now everything's automated. We've got 300,000 merchants signed up for this thing without us having a sales force of people that are on the phone making these calls all the time. It's like a crowdsourced sales force. It's amazing. We got that far with almost no resources at all.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing when you go to these shops these days. I feel like, at least, definitely in San Francisco, you see how many logos and like are in the window and how many things that they're kind of promoting and interested in trying to figure out.
Yeah.
It must be quite overwhelming for them.
Well, it's because they're dealing with a whole bunch of other folks. You know, it's like Yelp sends out those stickers, and Google's been sending out those stickers. And my stickers, you know, I'm talking about the things that go in the window. And they put them on.
And now in San Francisco, it's like everyone is using some kind of mobile payment swiping or Square.
Yeah. You guys, there's probably Square probably has some. Venmo in New York has some. It's a crowded space, especially because Groupon's trying to hit a lot of these merchants. But at the same time, like it's like merchants have never had tools like this before. Like the only people that were calling them were like the Yellow Pages and like the B-list version of the Yellow Pages. And none of those things work for merchants. So it's like well, where am I going to spend my money on? And Google for a long time, they've had AdWords, but AdWords doesn't like drives people to websites, not to brick and mortar businesses. So now you've got this whole other generation of startups that are trying to solve this problem. And Groupon does it in a fantastic way for driving like new customers towards like a spa or towards a restaurant, towards like a higher balloon place. And what we're finding is that Foursquare is starting to become one of those mechanisms, like those punch cards you get at a coffee place or sandwich place. Like we've got a lever like that, where we can allow people to do that, digitally. We have these things that's like, bring 5 of your friends here. Bring 25 random people here. We have like little flash specials at different venues. If you're one of the first people to show up after 10 in the morning. And it's just a whole suite of tools that venues haven't had before, that they can use to go out and try to attract new customers and retain existing customers. And there's a lot of noise in the market, but we're all kind of doing something different. And I think the merchants that have never had these tools before, like they're willing to experiment with a lot of them. Like you see that with Twitter. Like people, venues like there's coffee shops in New York and bakeries and cookie places that, I guess bakeries and cookie places are kind of the same thing. But they'll experiment with Twitter. Like they want to see if they can find a way to call it their own. And I think that they're going through that same experimentation with Foursquare.